Welcome to the webinar, How to Start an Online Shop. The number of online shops has been on the rise for years, and it is even expected that soon there will be more online shops than physical shops. And this is partially caused by the enormous amount of online spending, of course. My name is Laureen and I'm your host for today. And in the upcoming hour, we will walk you through how to prepare for starting your online shop and successfully market it, which rules and regulations you must comply with, and which taxes you have to pay when selling in the Netherlands or abroad. Several experts will be on hand backstage to answer your questions for you, and you can submit those questions using the chat function. So, we will start this webinar with what is involved in starting an online shop, or as we say it in the Netherlands, a web shop. And I am joined by the Netherlands Chamber of Commerce Business Advisor, Johan Lafra.
Hi.
Hi, good to have you here.
Thank you.
Entrepreneur and Jinfling.nl owner, Emma Hutchison.
Hi.
Hi. And owner of CapsulStudio.net, Sebastian Polizzello.
Hi.
Hi, good to have you.
Thanks.
So, thank you all for being here, of course. And before we start discussing the topic, starting an online shop, let's take a look at a video on where to begin.
Want to start an online shop? Discover what steps to take. Kim makes handbags from recycled fabrics as a hobby, but she's noticing that sales are going fast. She decides to start an online shop. Kim knows which products she wants to sell and to whom. She has also thought of a good domain name. She gets started. First, Kim registers her domain name. She chooses the legal structure, sole proprietorship, and registers with the Netherlands Chamber of Commerce, KVK for short. KVK reports her registration to the Tax and Customs Administration. If the Tax Administration designates Kim as an entrepreneur for VAT purposes, she receives her turnover tax number and VAT identification number. Kim checks which taxes she has to pay and how she can manage her business records to meet the legal requirements on Business.gov.nl. Kim builds her online shop. She checks with ACM, the Netherlands Authority for Consumers and Markets, which laws and regulations apply to online sales. She prepares general terms and conditions and ensures her website is properly secured against cybercrime. She gets started with marketing. She writes a social media plan and ensures her shop can easily be found on Google. She also applies for a quality mark, signaling to visitors that her online shop is reliable. Kim is ready to run her online business. Want to learn more? Find all you need to know on Business.gov.nl. Government information for entrepreneurs.
So, Johan, what can we learn from this video?
Well, as you can see in the video, starting your own online shop seems fairly easy. It's easy to set up and start doing. We made the video to show that and making sure that people know that it's easy to start. But still, once you have your online shop, you will be considered an entrepreneur. And as an entrepreneur, there are, I would say, a lot of things to juggle in order to get everything in the okay.
Sounds good. Sounds informative. And Emma, you're one of those entrepreneurs who started a business in the Netherlands with Jinfling. Let's have a look at what it is you do.
Yeah, my name's Emma. My company is Jinfling. We're an online gin retailer here in the Netherlands, but we've just recently expanded to some other drinks as well, but gin is our passion. So we sell all the brands that everyone will know already, but our mission really was to bring different and exciting gins to the Netherlands, which is the home of gin, or was the home of gin. So we now source from many different countries through sourcing partners, and yeah, we try and bring something a little bit different. We try and find limited editions, so just things that people can try and explore their gin journey. So we registered in July of 2019, and by the October we had the site up and running and our first transaction on the 2nd of October. I think for us, we have more gins than most web shops in the Netherlands. So we currently have over 650 different options of gin. And for us, we also like to provide more of a personal service. So Every order that goes out will have a personal note, and we will try our best to accommodate people for trying to find a gin that they really, really love. It came from being made redundant. So me and my business partner Gary decided that we wanted to stay in the Netherlands as expats, and the idea came from an old viewing of a TV programme on a gin company in the UK, and we thought, why not? You don't always get to switch off, but the reward is there. So when you see great reviews from customers, when you see repeat customers coming, just when you're talking to people in the industry and they recognise you, it's a really good feeling. So challenges for us come from the alcohol. So we have different legislations, and we have to get in touch with government departments and understand what the rules and regulations are and keep on top of them, because they do change as well. So Jinfling can have many faces. So at the moment we are a web shop. We want to move into things like tasting and events, and also there's always the question whether there will be a shop or a bar somewhere down the line. My advice would be to make a decision whether you want to run with it straight away or try and build up to it on a second income.
Well, that looked good. Looks great. 650 kinds of gin, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to start a shop online in the Netherlands?
Following the redundancy, like we said, we wanted to stay in the Netherlands. And we had always said we'd want to start a business together doing something. It just so happened it became gin. And yeah, it's now 2.5 years down the line, and we're doing well.
Going strong. So why in the Netherlands, and what was it like?
Well, the Netherlands, because we've both separately made our homes here, but the connection with the gin is really because gin was born in the Netherlands. We stole it in England for quite a few years, and we wanted to bring some of the excitement that the UK now has with gin back to the Netherlands, and also prove to people that gin is not just a summer drink.
Sounds good. But what was it like for starting your company over here?
Very, very simple. So in terms of all the registration, once we decided which Gemeente we were actually going to be dealing with, and we had the choice between Amsterdam and Almere, because that's where we both live. And yeah, we went along to the local office, we registered the business very, very simply. All the information was available in English, so that was perfect for us. And yeah, it was almost too easy. But our challenge and our difficulty is the alcohol side. And because we have alcohol, there are some strict rules and regulations that we do have to abide by that other online shops won't need to.
Okay, so you've done your research first?
We did as much research as we could. I think there's things that surprised us after the event. So learning that the EU is not totally open for sending alcohol unless you have registrations in those countries, mainly to do with tax. But everything else has been quite straightforward.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, Johan, hearing this as a business advisor at the Netherlands Chamber of Commerce, or KVK, as we say it, what, in your opinion, is the best preparation for starting an online business?
It's just like what Emma said. It's easy to start your business. The actual paperwork isn't the biggest deal. But I always advise people to take some time for preparation right from the beginning. So it's an actual thinking process, which is going to take some time. You need to look at what it is you'll be doing. You'll be looking at your unique selling point. You'll be trying to find where you fit in. I think that's important. And on top of that, you're going to look at the market. You're going to look at competition. You want to make sure that there's enough room for you to be successful with the actual business. That's important. And for me, I'd always tell people to look at the financial part as well. Look at your investments maybe. It could be that you have an investment budget that you need to make in order to start a business. But you'll also be looking at your own personal situation. How much money do you need to be able to live and do everything you want to do? And so by calculating your revenue for your business, you can make some decisions accordingly. And that's all going to be helpful in the preparation phase of your business. And yeah, write a business plan. I think that sums it up. Again, not mandatory to do that. A lot of people don't, but in my experience, by taking the time and writing it down, things will get clear and it will help you be successful.
Yeah, paying yourself a salary is also very important.
That I would say,
Besides having a healthy business,
true.
Good that you mention it. And I was wondering, for an online business, you have the whole technical aspect as well. Is there things to keep in mind when building a website, for instance?
If you're going to go with the online shop, the website itself is going to be the most, one of the most important things that you'll work with. So make sure that it's 100% okay. Make sure it works. It has all the functionalities that you need. Make sure you don't do just half a job. Make sure it works, and you can outsource. You can build it yourself, but you can also outsource to other companies, which yes is going to cost you money. But if you have a working website, it will make things much more efficient, and it's probably going to save you time and therefore money as well. So yeah it's important.
So less hassle.
Less hassle, yeah.
Because I can imagine, Emma, maybe for you, did you build your website yourself? Because Jin is something else than websites, of course.
Yeah, so we didn't build the initial setup of our website, but from the handover of that, we do everything. So we maintain all the lines, we change any details that need to be changed. We are actually on Mark II of our website. So interesting that you said about investing and that kind of thing. So with some of our growth plans, our first host site wouldn't have allowed that. So we quickly moved on, and now we're on our second. So
would that be a quick tip from your part as well? So make sure that you get someone to build your website and then you can maintain it yourself.
That was easiest for us. Gary's also quite technically minded, which is good. He is the technical one out of the two of us. So it's also good for him because he actually understands a lot of the functionality, but getting the bulk of the work done, but then concentrating on the detail yourself, because no one's going to know the detail like you do.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Well, Sebastian, I want to draw you in this conversation as well. But first, let's have a look at what you do with Capsule Studio.
Yeah, absolutely.
My name is Anna, and I'm the co-founder of Capsule Studio. I started the brand together with my husband 2 years ago.
My name is Sebastian. I'm the second co-founder of Capsule Studio, an Amsterdam-based online webshop for women's wear. We sell suits, but also casual clothes for women of all ages. We sell these clothes online, but also in our showroom in Amsterdam and in different shops around the world. Myself, I have more of an interest in numbers, in partnerships, and we used her passion for the industry to develop the brand.
Our clothing is made to impress, is made to make women feel confident and powerful. We are working with many talented people, with freelancers, creators, also store owners, business owners.
From the idea behind the product, to creating the product, delivering it to customers, selling, partnerships, you're responsible, but you also take part in the whole value creation.
We carefully select the partner factories, suppliers that we work with. We make sure that the people who produce our clothing work in decent conditions, they are fairly paid and fairly treated. So that's also a very important aspect of our brand. It was March 2020 when we received our first collection, and since then we have produced 5 collections already by now, and there are more on the way.
We're really strong in that mid-range where the clothes are still affordable, but at the same time fashionable, durable, and made in Europe.
The best thing about having your own business is, of course, flexibility. Every day you can do different things, and sometimes you can just wake up with an idea, start executing it from scratch.
Ideas in the corporate world, sometimes it takes 8 or 10 people to say yes before you can try something. But when you run a business together with your partners, sometimes you just look over the shoulder and say, hey, can we try this? And then you just do something crazy together. And that's amazing. And that gives us great speed. We can innovate very quickly, and we can also iterate quite quickly.
Online shopping has become definitely an integral part of our day-to-day life, but at the same time, a lot of people are looking for a little bit of the offline experience with the personal touch. So for sure, I think in the future it will be a balance between the digital experience and offline experience.
My advice for someone starting out a web shop is to try fast and fail fast and try again and iterate. Get in front of customers as soon as possible and then figure out the perfect website and the perfect pictures.
So Sebastian, I heard you say looking over the shoulder of your partner. So how's the dynamic? How does it work starting a business with your partner?
Yeah, great question. And really Capsule Studio started as more than a business. It was a project, something to do together. Instead of going skiing, we started a business together. When we started Capsule Studio, we were still dating, and today we're married. So I think we did something right along the way. And it's really great. I think, of course, there's a downside to this too, which is that the business never sleeps. You're really in it 24/7 when you live and work with the team. So it makes it really intense, but that also means we're going ahead really fast.
So what was it like for you to start a business in the Netherlands as a non-Dutch person?
I can really echo Emma's experience over how easy it was. I think the whole process with the KVK was really seamless, quick. I think we paid $50 for the registration. And the service from the KVK has also been amazing. We're in touch with them with WhatsApp, even asking questions about registration. Maybe we want to change the form of the company. They send us PDFs over WhatsApp, so it's really easy and great service actually. Yeah. I never gave the feedback to the KVK.
Okay, well, thank you. It's noted. Yeah.
That's what we're doing right now as we speak. So does it also count for your partner? Positive experiences as well? Easy way to start up?
So I think I answer from the business because I'm more on the paperwork side, while Anna is more on the creative side. So if there were any issues with government or taxes, that would be more me trying to solve those.
Nice. And Emma, how was it for Gary? More on the technical aspect website you just mentioned?
Yeah, I think that part is understanding what you want and what you need and how quickly it can be delivered. But working with Gary is, we've known each other probably now more than 20 years, so we know each other quite well. We know our strengths and weaknesses, and we complement each other really well for the business.
And as a non-Dutch speaker, or maybe your Dutch is perfect in the meantime, might be, who knows? Any experiences on that?
Yeah, I won't embarrass myself with my Dutch. What we have found is even from starting the business was really good. Everything was in English. We do have customers call us, and what I would say to people is don't be scared that you don't speak Dutch. Almost everyone that phones us speaks English in a very endearing way. Everyone will say, my English is not so good. Trust me, it's better than my Dutch. And we've never had a situation where we couldn't resolve a conversation or a request. And we do that by obviously telephone. And if we receive an email in Dutch, then we'll use our friend Google Translate sometimes, and we'll resolve it that way.
It works out that
yes.
way. Good. So I was wondering, Sebastian, you have an online clothing shop, but there must be loads of competition. How do you stand out?
There is a lot of competition, yes. However, you need to remember that not every clothing company is a direct competitor. We're really trying to find our niche in the mid-range, where we offer clothes that are of high quality, made in Europe, and at what we think is a reasonable price. So we really try to set us aside from both the mass market, which is cheap and accessible, but also we want to be cheaper and more accessible than the high fashion brands. So we're trying to find our niche in the middle, and what we found is that we don't have much direct competition in that niche. It's a small one, but we're quite happy to be there.
So your unique selling point would be?
So our unique selling points are really centered around sustainability, ethical, local production, and of course also a sense of fashion. So when we compare our designs with those of some of the competitors we look at, we think we are a bit ahead of the curve in terms of designs. I think what helps is that we're still quite small, while bigger brands need to plan productions a year ahead or even a year and a half ahead. We often make changes and redesigns up until a couple of weeks before the actual production. So we're quite fast to adapt to changes in trends.
Nice, sounds good. So I was wondering, is the sustainability part, is that coming from a moral, or is that just going on with the trend that we have at the moment?
So there's a couple of aspects. So we see it as two different things. There's a sustainability aspect, and there's an ethics in the fashion industry. The ethical part is really what we founded the business on. We decided we want to found a business with local production. We want to be able to visit all the factories ourselves, see the working conditions. We know the salaries of the people working in the factories that produce for us, and that's something really important for us. Then the sustainability aspect is something that grew with the business. We didn't start saying we want to make ethical and sustainable, but we found that it really helps us define our niche to also do as much sustainability as possible. So our cotton is certified, it's organic, it's sustainable, and we try to do everything we can to find good materials, to reduce the time on the road, to reduce the CO2 effects of transport, while at the same time not forgetting the ethical part as well.
Yeah. So the USPs are in there, and Johan, you mentioned that they are very important. So Emma, what are the USPs of Jinfling?
I think for us it's our broad range. We are the destination for gin within the Netherlands.
Go-to.
Yeah, there's other online sellers that have lots of gins, but we will definitely have some that they won't have. We actually import to ourselves, so yes, we can resell them on. And maybe we will. But for us, it's not just about the products that we have. We understand that price is very important within the Netherlands. That's something that on a product which is branded is quite difficult to really set yourself, and you do need to really look at what the market is doing. But we look at creative ways of having really good value without just having very low prices. And for us as well, it's a very personal service that we like to offer. So every single order that goes out, myself or Gary will write a card, and it is a genuine thank you for supporting our business. Sometimes we'll put a little tip on there. You know, we see the repeat customers coming through, which is always really good. But also we have the ability for people to come and collect from our premises. So it's always nice to have a conversation with a customer, see what they're mixing their drinks with, and also get recommendations for them of something they couldn't find.
So it's a true personal touch for you, even adding that personal card.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice. So, Johan, we mentioned a few trends. Personal touch is very important. Sustainability is on trend. What are other trends that are going on in the market as we speak?
Yeah, I'd say it's a few. You can look at the re-commercing. That's happening a lot now, and also there's voice commerce, which is the thing now. That's a trend. Customers becoming more and more critical on what they're expecting from your webshop is something that is a trend this day and age. And of course, it's also multi-channel. And I think if you look at those can be considered trends.
Yeah, so the trends go both ways, even what's on trend for buying, but also how the customer is behaving in this aspect. And you mentioned increasingly critical on delivery times. Is that something you've experienced? Emma, maybe starting with you?
Yeah, so we have a delivery promise. Now, our promise is that we will hand it to the carrier on the same day. And you know, we can't have full responsibility of getting it to a customer's front door because we don't physically make that delivery. So we are reliant on a carrier. So we will promise to do our part, and you know, most of the time the carrier will do theirs. I think customers do like to receive things quickly. They also want to receive them affordably. And that for us is a challenge because our products are quite heavy. Our products have to be shipped in certain packages. And there's extra things that we need to pay for on a delivery service, such as age check verification.
Yeah. So different rules and regulations for the shipping part. Yeah. And Johan also mentioned multi-channel. Is that something you apply as well, Sebastian?
Yeah, of course. I think it's really important to be wherever your customers are. We started as an online-only shop, and we thought online-only would work for a fashion company. What we quickly learned was that you need to have a physical presence as well. So we decided to try partnering with different stores. So right now we have stores in Amsterdam, Berlin, we have a store in California, in Antwerp, and that gives customers the opportunity to try on the clothes themselves before buying them. We also have a showroom, and of course we also sell not only on our website but also through Instagram, through Facebook. So we have all that integrated into our webshop, which still is our primary channel.
So really multiple channels then, in that case.
Absolutely.
So Johan, just a final question. What would your advice be for someone starting an online shop?
There has been a huge transition from everything online to offline to online. So you're not going to be the only one there. And please take some time to look at, as Sebastian said, a niche, which is good. Have something that you're specialized in. Same goes for you with the gin. Make sure you figure out what your specific place in the entire market is going to be, so that clients know what they'll be coming for and what you can offer them. I think that's important. And also, maybe on a side note, also look at security issues. I think that's important too. Everything's done online, everyone has their shop online, but cybercrime is really something to take into consideration this day and age. So if you have an online shop, make sure you read up on that as well and make sure that your website is secure.
Johan, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us on this topic and how to launch an online shop. You'll join us later on. Emma and Sebastian, you'll be staying with us, and we'll discuss later on as well the effective ways of marketing your online shop. So thank you. And we will be joined via video conference by Jaap Schepers, owner of Afdeling Online. Setting up and building an online shop is one thing, but good promotion can make or break an online shop. You can have the best unique online shop with beautiful products, but if the consumer does not know where to find you, you will not sell anything. And that's why we will now address the findability of your online shop. How do you attract customers to your website? How do you use online marketing wisely and stay ahead of the competition? In the meantime, Jaap Schepers has joined us via video conference, and Jaap is the owner of Afdeling Online. Good to have you here, Jaap.
Thank you very much. Hi.
Hi. So with your company, you help entrepreneurs develop and implement an online strategy. So when should you start working on the promotion and findability of your online shop?
Well, a very important question. You already do that from out the beginning, which means even before you start out your own platform, you build your web shop, you start out by looking at the competition, for example. You look where your products are being sold by the competition, which keywords people, for example, are using, but also how your competition is placing their products on social media, for instance. And from out that, you know how strong the competition is, you know where you start, but you also know what your unique advantages are, your USPs. Very important.
So once you've done that, what will be the next step?
Well, the next step after, of course, building your web shop is finding out which channels are really important for the first sellings of your web shop, which means some channels are mostly focused on branding, putting emotion into your brand, etc. But the first step is getting as much sales as possible to get some flesh on your bones. And some channels are better for that than others. For example, Google Shopping, but also market channels are like bol.com or Amazon are very useful for that.
Sounds good. So Emma, from an entrepreneur side, how do you promote your website?
Mainly on Google, so it has been really important for us to do that, but also through the keywords that have been spoken about. Our organic growth is actually really good as well.
Sounds good.
We're also looking at things that are offline to balance the experience. So we've recently been doing some advertising in the metro stations of Rotterdam and Amsterdam, supported by our brands. And we've also done a local campaign in Almere for people to be able to come and collect their products for us, which allows a bit more personal contact as well.
Oh, that's good, because personal contact is important. So, Jaap, why is that? And it seems to be now more important than ever.
Yeah, that's a really important topic, because when I started out with my company in 2004, starting a web shop, well, it was difficult from a technical point of perspective, but everybody who had a web shop was selling, as easy as that. Nowadays, it's easy to build a web shop, but there's a lot more competition and there's a lot going wrong, like importing products from other countries, delays in deliveries, and it's all built on trust. So an important way to diverse yourself from other web shops is having a personality, is showing who's behind the brand and building a lot of trust with reviews, good photography, etc. That's really important nowadays, just like I said, because a lot of things are going wrong.
Yeah. So Emma, Jaap's talking about that trust part, but that's also heavily dependent on the carrier. So how do you choose which one to go with?
Absolutely. And I think carriers will always give you something that's outside of your control. But we have chosen to go with the best known carriers for the Netherlands. So PostNL is an obvious choice, and we use DPD. We thought it was very important to give customers a choice. So even on a neighbourhood level, they will have different experiences by their carrier. And also there's different services with the two. So for us, it means we have a choice, they have a choice, but the decision is really, as a customer would expect from us, we expect from them. So it is about price, it is about quality of service, and it is about when things go wrong and how do they help us.
So we've established that trust, we have the right carrier, we have a stable platform. Jaap, what would be the next step?
Well, after you implemented all the channels, of course, some channels are working better than the others. Some channels are delivering you more orders than other channels. And it's really important to track which channels have the best ROI, which means the lowest costs against the highest margins in sales. For instance, if you're selling your product on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Google, you can easily see which channel drives the most orders. And based on that, you should be optimizing, which means putting more money where the most orders are and trying to lower your costs by optimizing these channels, changing your keywords, changing your biddings, etc.
Yeah, so you mentioned TikTok and some other social media channels in there as well. Sebastian, how do you distinguish yourself on those social media?
Yeah, good question. And I think having a unique personal approach is much like Jaap was saying, is something we try to do. We do between 40 and 50% of our photography in-house. My business partner Anna does a lot of modeling for the brand as well. We do street photography, we do shoots in bars and restaurants. So we're trying to make a lot of personal content for Instagram mostly. We recently started working on TikTok as well. We're still experimenting a lot with that channel. It's new to us. I think it's new to a lot of companies, so we're trying. And we're really trying all different channels that we can. We do email, social media, website of course, but also a lot of offline partnerships, events in person, with customers, with partners. So we really try to be present in every channel we can think of, and then after that we see which were successful, and again, like Jaap was saying, we invest more in the channels where we see more results from.
Nice. And Emma, how does the social media platforms, how do they work for you?
Yeah, so it's a little bit more difficult for us because actually on some of the social media we cannot sell our product because it's alcohol. So we use it as awareness. So we post every day. So we're always showing the customers there's something interesting, but it's never a selling platform for us.
So it's no mocktails on there.
We can do mocktails, but people are more interested and we get far more likes with the alcohol.
Okay. So Jaap, once you've set up these channels, how do you keep monitoring them and see if they actually work?
Well, for instance, you can use very good and free tools for that, like Google Analytics. There are a lot of ways to connect your shop to Google Analytics and to see your transaction data, the users, your pay-per-clicks, like the visitors via your advertisements, etc. And from there, there's a very easy KPI like ROI, which you can use to track and monitor and see if your revenues are all right and your costs are okay.
Okay, sounds good. So, Sebastian, I heard you mention in your previous answer something about working with the different channels, but also different, not vendors, but like not really competitors, but adjacent companies. How does that work?
Yeah, I think that's something we've tried to leverage from the start is to find synergies with other companies around us, whether that's jewelry brands or bakeries or even a flower shop close to us that we collaborated with. So we do different things. We do events together. We do giveaways. For example, for Christmas, we usually do a big giveaway of a box that can contain a sweater from us and a gift card for a cake and some jewelry or candles. And we find that this really amplifies our reach because we might have 4,000 followers and all these other different smaller brands or companies, they have between a few thousand and tens of thousands of followers. And that really gives us a reach to their follower base as well, which again, amplifies the spend on these giveaways or collaborations. So we really think that that's useful, finding other small companies that can work together. Of course, not someone you compete with, so maybe not an alcohol brand, but someone that sells cocktail glasses would be an example for you.
I like the thinking along going here. Yeah, nice. So we're setting up those connections already. Once those social medias are in play and you're attracting the right customers, Jaap, how do you keep track of that? And how do you keep attracting those customers via those channels?
Well, it's all about experimenting. Just like I was saying earlier, first you start out with the channels which are very important for the first sales. But after that, you need to start working on your branding, which means you have the first sales, but then you need to create a personality of your brand. And that means that other channels than Google or Google marketplaces are much more important. Think about Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Building personalities, build brands for the longer term. And that creates a recurring revenue depending on your product. And I think that's very important as well.
So different strategies for different social media, maybe?
Yeah, different strategies. Well, not only for social media. Just like I said, you need to divide the channels in sales intended channels and branded intended channels. And you need to look at your target groups.
Sorry, then I'm curious, which ones would you recommend?
Well, the best one I would recommend is starting to look at your target groups, see which ages there are, what their hobbies are, and segment them in different groups. Mm-hmm. For every single group, there's another channel which is more important, not a social media channel. Like, for instance, Facebook is more for, the elderly people, let's say 35 and up. And if you look at YouTube, it's mostly male, for instance. Other channels like TikTok are much more for the younger groups, although they have the disadvantage that advertising for younger target groups is much more difficult. In general, looking at the target groups is very important.
So what would your advice be for maybe continue optimizing marketplaces, online marketplaces?
Well, the difficulty about marketplaces is you get revenue out of them, but you're not really building a brand. That's the most difficult thing about marketplaces. You're only driving boxes and sales, but not building the brand because you're promoting, for instance, Amazon and bol.com. So I think they're a really important way to sell the products, but you need to combine it with other channels as well to build your brand.
So you need to be out there, and then you can partially use online marketplaces, but you need to be out there yourself as well on the preferred channels for your brand.
The preferred channels for the preferred occasions, for the preferred target groups, yes.
It sounds like we need some advice with that, because that sounds like a lot of work.
Well, it is a lot of work. There's some repetition in my story, but just like I said, you first need to look at the target groups, see how they're segmented, what their criteria are, and look at which channels are the best to reach them. And after you've done so, you're using Google Analytics to see if it's working and if your ROI is okay. And according to that, you do more with them, you optimize them by putting more ads on them or lowering or hiring the ad spend, for instance, and the biddings.
So, Jaap, last question. What would your golden tip be for those launching a web shop?
Well, the golden tip is divided in two parts. It's building a personality brand for the longer term. That's really important because the competition is really fierce. And the other one is optimizing. From the early start, see where your revenue is coming from and try to adapt that in your strategy and emphasize on it. Most important.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Jaap, for joining us via video conference. Thank you for your time. Emma and Sebastian will stay with us today to discuss our next topic, the rules for running an online shop, where we will be once again joined by Johan Lafra. So, you've built your online shop, you started the logistics processes, and you promote your business using the appropriate channels. But are you doing everything within the rules and regulations? Johan Lafra has joined us once again. Thank you so much for telling us all about which rules apply for online shops. So, Johan, which rules and regulations apply for online businesses?
Well, there are a lot of rules and regulations that apply. I think two important ones to kick off with those are that your website needs to be easy accessible for clients. So that's really important. And also to show contact information. Show ownership of the business, who's the person behind the business, and make sure that you write down the Chamber of Commerce number, for instance, the VAT number, registered business address, so that people know where you actually are located. And make sure, if you use a contact form, that that's not the only one you use, but also mention an email address or a phone number, just to be in the clear on who people are doing business with.
So, two forms of contact. What other things are important to clearly state on your website?
Look at product, for instance. If people buy a product, make sure you tell them what they're getting. So mention specs, maybe fabrics, the gin, what's in it. Make sure that it's all mentioned on the site. Make sure there are no hidden costs or additional costs. It happens sometimes that the amount changes when people have something in their shopping cart, or once they finalized the order. That's really a no-go area. Make sure you say something on delivery, and of course that's never going to be 100% guarantee, but just be reasonable and realistic when it comes to a shipping period. And part of that, of course, is also showing the amount of stock that you still have. So that's important as well. I think those are really important to look at. And so we said delivery, we said product, and
price?
Something to add? Price,
yeah,
and the pricing, we mentioned that as well. So I think those are important, yeah.
So Emma, What are the delivery terms of Jinflings?
Okay, so the promise we make is if you order before 4 p.m. Monday to Friday, we will make sure it's with the carrier that day. In most cases, the 2 carriers that we use will deliver the next day, but we can't guarantee it, and we will never say to a customer, we can guarantee it. We do everything we can, and then it's over to them. There are times of the year, though, where it's busy, so seasonal holidays, and sometimes it might take 2 more days.
Is there like a specific gin holiday?
I wish. Every day's a gin holiday.
Good. So in terms of alcohol, there must be different rules and regulations maybe.
Yeah, so from the 1st of July 2021, there are new rules where we have to prove age verification. So that's something we do before we take the order in terms of a question to the customer. And also every delivery that goes out, it must be age checked to the person that made the order when they receive it. This is totally understandable, and we totally support it. Customers are finding a challenge now because they're used to having their delivery go to their neighbour when they were not home, and unfortunately now this can't be done. So they would have to arrange another delivery or pick it up from the local parcel shop.
Yeah, so no 16-year-old opening the door, answering the door for you?
Absolutely not. No.
So, Johan, we also talk about a cooling off period that's always necessary. So a period of a few days, weeks to change your mind. That's what we talk about when we're talking about cooling off period. So could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, it's in the way you just mentioned. If you buy something from an online shop, there automatically is a cooling off period from the moment you receive goods, which is normally up to 14 days. So within that 14-day time frame, you'll have the possibility to send the product back to the online shop.
And what would be the other general rules for refunding it in that case if you send it back?
Yeah, if you're going to send it back, you'll probably be reimbursed for the money you spend. So you're going to get your money back, and that's also going to be within a 2-week time frame.
Okay, and I was always wondering, because sometimes you get your money back and sometimes they say, no, you need to spend the money within the shop again. So the shop itself can think of ways to refund.
It has to do with your general terms and conditions.
Yeah. Okay. So it would be good for the customers as well to really have some insight in that. That's why you told us all about the visibility, of course. Yeah. Save us some hassle.
That's true.
So Sebastian, have you ever experienced maybe complaints or something within that cooling off period?
Yeah, I think that's quite natural when selling clothes online. Sometimes the fit is not good, sometimes the size is wrong, or maybe some people think the color looks different in real life than it looked on the picture. And then, of course, as long as the customer tells us within 2 weeks that they want to return, we of course allow that and we refund. If there's any small issues with the order, we can also allow the customer to fix them themselves, and we can pay for the tailor to fix some small things. And of course, we always want to make it right and have a happy customer in the end. So we always offer an exchange, but if not, we of course take the refunds as well.
And so personal contact would be very important in that case. So you have that on your website, clear and about everywhere?
Yes, of course. So our return conditions are on a separate page, separate from our general terms and conditions, which are very long. So we keep a separate page just with the return information because it's really important to customers. But for us as well, because every opportunity to speak with a customer is an opportunity to change their mind, to offer them something else, to maybe say, would you like to try some other product instead? And these are all opportunities to engage, to talk with the customers and to give them a great experience with the brand.
Exactly, and also for reviews, because that's a thing nowadays as well. You need to keep in mind your reviews and how you handle those. Emma, how do you handle your reviews? Do you invest in them or do you spend some extra time?
So we use a platform within the Netherlands which is trusted by a lot of Dutch consumers. So we signed up with webshop, and that allows us to gain the reviews on our website and our products as well. But actually, someone can leave a product review at any time on our website. We print everything, whether it's good or bad. And the great thing is you get to learn from them. So maybe, as Sebastian said, if the product isn't represented in the way exactly as it should be expected, for us it might be the box design changed and we didn't update the picture. So understanding that from reviews means you can immediately just change what you're showing and make sure everything is correct.
Because I can imagine you cannot taste the gin first and then say, no, I don't like it, and send the bottle back.
Yeah, so we will obviously accept any returns of an unopened bottle.
Yeah.
Normally what we find is the customer themselves actually ordered something that they didn't mean to order. So we'll have a conversation about it. And sometimes we have to deal with a return because we made a mistake and maybe we sent the wrong product.
Yeah.
It happens, we're human.
Yeah, exactly. So you said you put in or on your website all the reviews. Are you on other rules and regulations for the reviews as well?
Yeah, you need to be honest. You need to be honest up front when it comes to review policy. Make sure you tell your customers what to expect when they leave a review. One already mentioned is if you have good reviews and bad reviews, you should really work on them equally. Not just go with the good ones and leave the bad ones aside. I think that's important. And what you hear more and more is the actual fake review. Stay away from those. I think that would be my biggest tip. Don't put your own fake reviews online telling everyone that you're the best. Make sure that it's genuine. I think that's important. And one small addition, you can do the reviews yourself or use a platform for it. Mm-hmm. But you can also outsource your reviewing system. If you outsource, which is totally fine, just be on top of it to make sure that you monitor what happens there at the external party. That's important.
So in that case, you mean if the reviews are coming in, if they are the same way transferred to your website, or are they on your website, those kind of things?
Yeah, okay. Those kind of things, yeah.
Okay. So Sebastian, you mentioned you have general rules and regulations on your website. Emma, do you have them as well?
Yes, we do. Everything that we have is easy to find in our footer, and there's also different contact parts at different points as well. So if you're in customer service, there's a customer service, there's a general info, and then we have delivery separate, the same as Sebastian.
Yeah, so that's all because of the rules and regulations for online shops as well. That has to be visible in there, as you mentioned in the beginning, Johan. Who checks this?
There's one entity that's going to be on top of your webshop. That's the Authority for Consumers and Markets. Okay. That's the entity where you can find all those rules and regulations that you need to uphold. So check them as well. And yeah, if they come to check and something's not in order, they're also allowed to fine. So check the rules, obey the rules, and make sure that you avoid any fines of any sort.
So you also have these check marks, I was going to say quality marks online as well. How do you apply for those? How do you apply for those? How does that work? Maybe from the entrepreneurs, do you have a qualify mark?
So on our own webshop, we don't have one, but for example, a lot of the materials we use might have, for example, the cotton is GOTS certified. There are different qualifications for factories, for materials. So we have those for certain parts of our production, and we use that in our marketing as well. If we use some really good materials, we will let our customers know that, of course.
Exactly. So there's the quality check in there.
Correct.
Yeah. And Emma?
Yeah, the same. We don't have anything specific on our website, but we feel that by using the review system that we do that is trusted by consumers in the Netherlands, that they'll see the reviews on there, understand that it is a formal business, and therefore trust that we are doing things correctly.
Sounds good. So, Johan, some final words of advice about the rules and regulations.
Yeah, make sure you read up on them. I think that's important. And again, a lot of information can be found at the Authority of Consumers and Markets. There's also a lot of information on Business.gov.nl, which is a very good starting point. But I'd really say keep on reading and stay alert when it comes to rules and regulations. You really don't want to mess that up.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for your thoughts on this topic so far. Next up, the taxes you have to pay and the rules for import and export. And we are joined by Sandra Wood later on, the International Business Advisor at KVK, Netherlands Chamber of Commerce. Taxes are usually not the most fun topic to talk about, but they are important. So how do VAT and income tax work for online shops? And what are the rules for import and export? In addition, Sandra Wood from KVK, Netherlands Chamber of Commerce, has joined us to discuss these topics.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here.
Welcome for having me.
And maybe it's good to start with the beginning. So Jan, I'm going to start with you. If you start an online shop in the Dutch market, which taxes do you have to deal with?
If you start your own business in the Netherlands, it's always the same taxes. It's the VAT, it's income tax, and in certain cases, it's also an excise duty, which has to do with alcohol, probably something Emma can tell you all about. But those are the most important. As a business, at the end of the year, you need to do your income tax, which is for everyone. The tax office will charge you a certain percentage that you need to pay in taxes. And that's what happens. And on top of that, there's the VAT tax, which is done 4 times a year.
And how does it work? So 4 times a year, and what is it?
Once you make the registration, you'll get 2 tax numbers. You'll get the VAT number that you'll be using towards your clients, and you'll get an ID number that you can use to declare your online VAT taxes. So every 3 months you log in and you declare to the tax office the amount of VAT you received from clients minus the amount of VAT you paid on purchases on behalf of your business. So once you make that calculation, you'll know what to enter and what you need to declare to the tax office. It's as simple as that.
And there are different rates, different percentages for the Dutch VAT. Which ones are there?
There are 3, and for most businesses, it's the 21%. The general tariff when it comes to VAT is 21%. So you can find out on the tax office website that it could be handy. All the exceptions to the rule are mentioned there. So if you have an activity, maybe you're in food or drinks, or maybe in certain sectors, you might be eligible for the lower VAT tariff, which is 9%. If you go abroad, it could be 0% in VAT. But those are exceptions. They're mentioned on the tax office website. If you are not an exception, automatically you need to charge clients with the 21% in VAT.
Okay, so there's some bookkeeping rules involved there. Sebastian, as an entrepreneur, how do you keep track of your Dutch sales? How do you do that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And when we started out, we were, of course, really small, and we had a small budget. So we thought, let's do this ourselves. So we tried to keep track of everything in Excel, and like mentioned here, you need to file your taxes 4 times per year. And of course, we missed that deadline, so we got a little fine of 50 euros from the tax authority. So we thought, this is not worth it. Let's outsource this. So we found a very good bookkeeper who's doing all the taxes and filings for us. Also does our personal income tax. So really have the whole picture of all VAT and tax questions for us.
So that would be an advice from your part.
I would strongly recommend it. I think that's a small amount to spend per month. You can deduct that amount from your taxes anyway. So I would really recommend to anyone starting out to have an advisor, a tax advisor from the start, to make sure everything is filed correctly. Even if your revenue or your income is quite small in the beginning, it's still worth it to have a good record of everything you're spending, and to make sure that your taxes go out correctly.
Okay, that's true. Well, thank you. So Johan and Sebastian, you added on, those are the Dutch taxes, the Dutch part, the Dutch VAT system. So Sandra, if we take a look abroad, I'm going to ask you some hypothetical combinations of factors. So there are different, let's start in general first, there are different rates for foreign sales. So what rates do you use abroad?
Well, it depends on if you deliver goods to a private individual or to a company. And that's a big difference.
Okay.
While you file the Dutch VAT, or you file the foreign VAT, or 0.
Okay, so that let's start off then. Then we take private individuals. So you sell as a Dutch company to private individuals abroad. We also call that remote sales, maybe good to keep in mind. But within the EU, also very important. And your annual turnover is less than 10,000 euros. Do you have to file a declaration abroad?
In this case, less than 10,000 euros, you can choose to file a tax return with the Dutch VAT, or you can choose to do it abroad, to the foreign VAT. Mostly it's better to do the VAT in the Netherlands then. It's less complicated.
Less complicated, easier, accessible maybe?
Easy accessible.
Okay, so that's if it's less than 10,000 euros.
Yes.
So what if it's over 10,000 euros to private individual in the total turnover?
If it's more than 10,000 euros, you have to ask for the tax return in the foreign country, in the other country.
Okay.
You can do it for every country individual, or you can do it by the International One-Stop Shop. We also call it the OS or OSS, whether you can choose. Then you can do that in one go. For example, you have individuals in Germany, Belgium. You can do your tax return by the OS in one time for both the countries.
Oh, that sounds good.
It's good, but it's still a little complicated.
Still a little complicated.
Yes.
Okay. So what should we take in account if you were to use that one-stop shop for your foreign sales?
You have to register first at Mijn Belastingdienst and then the part VAT. And with the registration, you can try to do it yourself, the tax return. But my advice will be to let it be done by a specialist, accountant or a bookkeeper, because it can be complicated. And once you miss something or you do something wrong, it can have a lot of consequences.
Yeah. So a small fine would be nothing in that case. And
yes.
Especially because it's done abroad, there might be other difficulties as well.
Yes, exactly. And the system, the one-stop shop system is it's new. It's as July 1st of this year it started. So there are little things that's not you're used to work with.
Exactly.
So there are specialists. Not all the accountants already know how it works, but a lot of them have the trainings and they know how to do it.
Exactly. Okay, good. So good to keep in mind. But of course you have various sources of income when you do international sales as well. There are various ways of getting that money into your account. So Emma, I'm wondering, for international sales, which platforms do you use, or how do you have your money arranged?
Yeah, so we have quite small international sales at the moment, but they are growing and we have plans to make them grow further. So we're using a payment provider platform that collects all the money in on our behalf. It also gives the customer flexibility into what payment method to use. So that could be a debit card, a credit card, it could be Ideal or an equivalent internationally, or it could be PayPal. So there's different ways that they can pay. The payment provider reconciles all that, and then when the payment clearance is done, then we receive our money.
Exactly. And you know, because of your invoices, if it's a sell abroad with a credit card or if it's in the Netherlands or within the EU?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Nice. Okay, so finishing up that private buying part, and if we were to look at the entrepreneurs, so if you sell to other entrepreneurs within the EU, Sandra, how does it work? So selling as a Dutch company to other entrepreneurs within the EU?
Basically, you can charge the 0% VAT rate, but then you need to do some things to do this first, is to check whether the VAT number of your buyer is correct, if it's a company, because it's not always a company and they say they're a company, so you have to check the VAT number. You can check that in the system of the European Union. It's called the VIS system. It's like a database where all the VAT numbers of the companies within the Union are or based.
Collected.
You can check it there. If you have a red answer, it's not in there, or there is some other thing that's wrong. Maybe the VAT number doesn't match the company name, for example. If it's green, you can use the VAT number. Then you have to state the number on your invoice with the remark refers VAT to, and then you mention the VAT number. So the tax office in the Netherlands also know that you refer the VAT to the other country.
Okay, so that's something to keep in mind, to have that on your form, on your invoice.
Yes.
Okay. So what about the rules if you import your goods from abroad? We have to deal with customs, for example, or how does that work?
Import from abroad is then you use that term import if you're going to import outside of the European Union into the Union.
Okay.
So if you have import within the European Union, we don't use the term import, but we use inter-community transaction, also ICT. If you say, okay, you're going to import abroad, then you mean country outside of the European Union. In that case, you can have to do with import duties. And it depends on whether the country you import from has a free trade agreement with the European Union. If they have, and the goods suits the condition to have the free trade agreement, then you pay zero VAT and zero import duty, and just the VAT as is the rate in the Netherlands.
Okay.
If there are not a free trade agreement, then you have to pay the import duty. And the import duty you pay over the custom value. And the custom value is the value of the goods added with the insurance and most of the time the transport costs. Then you pay the import duty and added it up, and then you pay the VAT. So if you make a calculation, make it the right way, because if you do it the wrong way, you're going to miss some.
Okay, okay. Good to keep in mind.
Yes.
And there's this phenomena called drop shipping.
Oh yes, very popular.
What is it?
Well, it's if you go, you order something on a web shop in the Netherlands, for example, but the owner of the online shop placed the order, for example, to the manufacturer in China, and asked him to send the goods directly to the purchasers, the individual you sent it to. In that case, you don't know that the shipment is from China to your house. You think that the online shop will send it to you. That's called drop shipping. So the manufacturer in China sends an invoice to the online shop to pay, and they deliver it to you. What is the difficult with that is it sounds easy for the online shop because they don't have anything in stock, but they can't be sure that the product suits the product safety, because in the European Union we have strict rules for product safety. So it's a tricky way to do business. So I always warn them, check first what kind of products you're going to import through drop shipping. If it's like toys, small machine or electric consumer products, be careful, because they need a CE marking, and that's a special safety regulations for the European Union. And if you miss that and something goes wrong, a few weeks ago there was like a telephone charger was something went wrong and it caught fire. If you can say, okay, I bought it at that online shop and that happened, your liability for your product liability for the safety of that product, so they can sue you.
So the online shop is accountable for what it's
Yes,
sold.
because the customer doesn't know that he purchased the goods at a China shop. He orders it at an online shop
At
in
a
the
Dutch
Netherlands.
shop,
And the rules in the European says that if you're going to import a product outside the European Union into the Union, your product liability, they see you as the manufacturer. So if I want to sue you, I sue not the manufacturer in China, but the online shop.
Yeah.
And you have to be aware of that if you do like drop shipping. It can work for some products, you know, if there are products who product safety is not really, it's not really dangerous or anything.
But it also opens the door for counterfeits, of course.
It does open the door, and it's difficult to check that out. Sometimes you can see it, most of the time through the price, but it's not always like that. So you have to check that first.
Okay. So there's a lot of things that come in hand when you're watching your international sales.
Yes, it's difficult, but it can be done. But you have to check first if it's a trustworthy partner you work with abroad.
Yeah.
And you don't check that by doing business online with them.
Yeah.
You have to get a trust from them, build a relationship, and if there's something wrong with the products, that you can check it with them.
Yeah.
And for the example we have is like China, most of the time the products say, okay, there's a CE on it, and you say, okay, I think the product is right, but CE is also in China for China export, because you need a license to export products for out China. And they put like CE mark on it, saying it's a China export product.
Yeah.
But it's something else than a CE mark for product safety in the European Union.
Yeah.
So beware of that.
So good to keep in mind.
Yes.
Emma, you do international sales as well. You import as well, or maybe within the EU, so not calling it import in that case.
No.
So how does that work?
So a lot of our supply comes directly from the Netherlands, but we do bring in from other European countries, but we also have brought in from outside of the EU. And we're fully aware that we are the importers into the EU, and it comes with a responsibility. So for us, we have to keep on top of the rules. And alcohol, again, we have the pleasure of paying alcohol tax, as well as the standard import taxes, and obviously any VATs that are due. So.
Yeah, good. Good to keep in mind. Maybe some final questions to wrap things up. Sebastian, I was wondering, what would you do differently? Would you do anything differently if you were to set up your online shop today?
Yeah, if we would start all over again, I think there's a few things we would do differently. We would invest a lot more, and we would go a lot bigger from the start. Of course, when you start out, you can be scared and you can think, well, what if it fails? But to succeed, you really need to go all in, I think, from the start. And the second one is, I think we're quite good at it, but to be even more customer obsessed and to always put the customer first, and to think, how can we make the absolutely best experience for every single customer? Because that's the way to get them to come back, to spread the word, and to grow your business, is to always put the customer first.
Customer obsessed. Nice expression. And Emma, for you?
I think for us, it would be easy to say that we'd change the product because it would be easier, but we are really enthusiastic about gin. So for us, that is what we want to do. As Sebastian says, maybe you might not think it's going to work out, and we're two years down the line. We wish we had a bigger warehouse, and that is because we've been successful. So there's always something to learn. But one thing I definitely wouldn't change is the partnership with Gary, because we balance each other really well.
Can imagine. Well, thank you all so much for being here today, for explaining us all about it. Let's recap from coming up with a gap in the market to cater to new regulations. Over the past hour, hopefully we've updated you on how to start that online shop and what it involves, and hopefully this answers a lot of your questions. The developments in the online shop market follow each other at a rapid pace. So from critical customers to new VAT regulations, distinguishing yourself in a crowded market of online shops is very important. So is transparent communication about delivery times, return policy, and we just wanted to thank you for your time, and we have a question for you, because an online evaluation form will appear after this broadcast, and if you would please be so kind to complete that for us, that would be of great help. And you will also receive an email with links to the videos and other useful information, so you can read it all again and see it all again. And if you are inspired to start an online shop after watching this and you want more information, go to Business.gov.nl. Thank you so much for watching.